Good morning, Myers, students and staff. This morning I want to talk with you a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow when we have our safety and evacuation drill. Boys and girls, remember, it is really critical that we follow directions when we're doing the evacuation drill. We know that in our community recently we've had some violent acts. We did have a situation at Fern Creek High School that I'm sure some of you or maybe all of you are aware of. We want to make sure that at all times we are ready just in case we have a safety situation at school. We also had some other folks to be worried about. We have a high school that we share the building with. We also have an elementary school on our property, and we have neighbors all through the community that share space with our campus. So if we have something happen here that's unsafe, that impacts a lot of other folks, again, that are in our school community and right around the geographical location that Wagner is located. Further, there are times that we might not just have a crisis that keeps us in the building, but that might require us to be evacuated to another area of campus or even off campus. And so tomorrow on Thursday morning, we want to practice not just a lockdown drill, but what would happen if we needed to evacuate the building. Some very important key players are going to be with us practicing tomorrow. First, we're going to have the St. Matthews Police Department and a few folks from Metro Police. We're going to have the the St. Matthews Fire Department and EMS as well. Because if we do have a crisis situation, the St. Matthews Police Department is going to take over what happens in the building and how we evacuate the building. Also, if we were to have someone injured, which we may be practicing tomorrow, not a real injured person, of course, but someone that's practicing or pretending to be injured, we want to make sure that the EMS program has an opportunity to practice what they would do if there's a crisis situation as well. So remember, it's not just us practicing, but the police department's going to be practicing and the EMS folks are going to be practicing to make sure they know just what to do if we have a safety situation here on campus. Also, students, remember that you're going to be in classrooms on lockdown, and it's super important that we're at level 0 voices. That means you should not be talking, you should not be interacting with your peers. If you have a question for a teacher, you should raise your hand. Also, students, there are areas of the building that teachers are going to ask you to go to make sure that you're safe. We want you away from windows. We want to make sure that you're not close to the doors. We want to make sure that you're in an area that if someone were to open the door, even that they wouldn't have close space to be able to touch you or maybe grab you or pull you out of a door. So students, when teachers ask you to get in those spaces, it's critical that you follow their directions and do exactly what they tell you to do at a level 0 voice. Also, students, it's very possible that a police officer is going to come in your room and do a complete sweep of your room. At that time, you're going to see an officer that is armed. Those officers will be armed, but their weapons will be, number 1, not loaded, and 2, they'll be secured with zip ties to make sure that there's not even a possibility of those weapons to be able to fire during that drill experience. So don't be worried about that, but they will be armed and they will look just like they would look if they came in a classroom to sweep the room in an unsafe situation. Also, students, remember that we will not be exiting those rooms until the St. Matthews police officers let us know that the building is clear. For the building to be clear, they have to go through every area of the building, including the cafeteria and other storage areas of the building, to make sure no one's hiding or that no one would be there that would be trying to hurt anyone or escape arrest. So again, it may take a few minutes for you to be in your classrooms on lockdown. We need you to be patient. We need you, again, to follow any directions. Further, when it's time to evacuate students, we don't know what route St. Matthews is going to tell us to go. Depending on what might happen in a real situation, that might change where we evacuate and what routes we might take to evacuate. So it will not be the same route that you take for a fire drill. It will be whatever directions the police officer gives to your teacher and to you. That will be the way that we evacuate. That's why you've got to be listening. That's why we've got to be a level 0 voice. It's essential that you be able to hear directions. Further, students, take directions from anyone that gives them to you. There might be an adult from Wagner facilitating directions out towards the evacuation place outside the building. There might be a St. Matthews police officer or an EMS individual that's giving you directions. Students, it does not matter who those directions come from. Detectives and police officers are dressed in many different ways. You follow directions. we will make sure that by the time you are receiving directions outside the classroom, any security breach would be gone. That means they have been through the building and it is safe for you to evacuate. So make sure that you listen to any adult that interacts with you and take this matter very, very seriously. As you've heard me say before, we practice like we play. If we have a crisis, we want to make sure that you've had a very authentic, which means as close to real as we can get it, experience, and that you know exactly what to do and that you know adults know what to do to keep you safe. So again, students, we expect your focus, your quiet voices, silent voices when necessary, that we're walking, that we're standing in areas of the room that our teachers ask us to stand, and that when we get to the space that we evacuate, that we are quiet and attentive. Because again, we might be looking for peers that weren't in their classroom when the lockdown happened. We might be trying to search for the neighbor that sits next to you in your literacy class. So it's important that you recognize the gravity of even the time once we get to the evacuation site, that you're silent and that you're patient until it's time for us to come back in the building. And finally, students, I just want to let you know your safety is always our number one priority. We're taking the time out of our instructional day to do this so that we make sure that we know to the best of our abilities what we're going to do just in case we have an unsafe situation in our school that we need to protect you from. So again, we're going to have high expectations for your behavior. We're going to make sure that we do everything the best that we can do it. And I believe that you're going to do an amazing job. And I know that we're going to get lots of compliments on the Myers Middle School students when this is all over with. And finally, know that we've let your parents know. You might have seen that you've carried home a letter. We also carried home letters again today, this afternoon. For any of you that might have been absent yesterday, you'll get another letter. We have emailed your parents. We've also let St. Matthews know, our surrounding community. It's been on the marquee outside to let the community know that we're going to be doing this. And finally, the media is aware. So again, if anybody's confused or might send a message to the media that they're concerned that there's an incident at Wagner or Myers on Thursday morning, they will know that it's just a drill to help practice keeping you safe. If you have any questions, please ask your teachers. Teachers, if you don't have answers, be sure you ask an administrator so we can get you the facts you need to be successful on Thursday morning. Again, students, thank you in advance. I know you're going to do a great job, and go Mustangs.